Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Last Lap. In today's episode, we have even more news to cover from the off-season for you guys. But before we hop into it, just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button and that like button. It goes a long way and helps our channel grow. And you can also check us out on our Instagram page at The Last Lap News. And Matthew, my friend and co-host, as always, is joining us on the show. And before we hop into it, I just want to briefly say that our thoughts and prayers with everybody in the Midwest dealing with all those tornadoes right now. I know that was a very terrible thing that happened in our country, so just thoughts and prayers to all those people, as well as the racing world. The racing world lost a few people over the week, too. I think Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s brother passed away, and then I'm not an IndyCar guy, but there was an former IndyCar driver that passed away as well, so thoughts and prayers to everybody affected by all the tragedies this week. But Matthew, how you doing? Is college, our final semester, well, our second to last semester is over, heading into our final semester in the spring.
Well, I'm finally glad back home for finals. It's been a long week for me, but I made it through. I survived. But, man, what a morning we had watching Formula One. I know the whole motorsports world was watching that today. That was one crazy race, that's for sure. With a lot of drama, a lot of controversy, and an exciting last lap. And Max Verstappen ended up winning the Formula One championship. So, congrats to Max Verstappen for his first championship. That last caution, that was definitely controversial. And I'm salty about that, to be honest, because that rule didn't make it. I mean, the decision making made no sense there from the officials. So, but it is what it is. It was still a very exciting race, and yeah, we saw some NASCAR drivers over there too. Kyle Larson was actually there for the race. We saw Bubba Wallace, Hamlin, a couple other drivers were watching it from their homes today. So it was a great day for some racing. It may not be NASCAR, but it's still some racing.
Yeah, it was a great race. I'm slowly starting to try to get myself into Formula One. I want to try to get myself familiar with Formula One and IndyCar next year, hopefully. A little bit, not like a diehard fan or anything, but I like to get myself into each of those a little bit. So, that was a great ending to the season. It was the final race, came down to Verstappen and Hamilton, and whoever finished best won the title, and that's what happened. Came down to a one-lap restart, which was insane. So, yeah, I think that's arguably one of the best Formula One finishes or seasons ever, apparently, to all the broadcasters. They were saying it was a really good season overall, so great to see that happen. But turning back to NASCAR, so last week we kind of hinted at an announcement that Richard Petty and GMS Racing something was going to happen between them. We weren't 100% sure. We knew that GMS bought a stake in them, or whatever it's called, and that did end up happening. And what is going to happen moving forward is that Eric Jones and Ty Dillon will be teammates. They ended up doing an announcement at the Hall of Fame, and they unraveled Ty Dillon's new number, which is actually the 42. So that was really cool that they're bringing that number back. Obviously, that's Lee Petty's number and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool that they have the 42 and the 43 car now for GMS and Richard Petty. They combined a name. It was like Petty GMS Petty Petty GMS or something, and we were joking around. I was like, man, all these partnerships are gonna get, all these names are gonna get confusing because we have Roush and Keselowski together, we have GMS and Petty together now, so all these mergers and stuff are gonna get confusing moving forward. So we already pretty much gave our thoughts on this last week, but just to quickly recap, I think it's a great move for these two teams to come together. GMS is kind of a rising team in NASCAR, and Richard Petty Motorsports has kind of been on the decline lately, so hopefully they can come together, combine the resources, and make some good use out of these two cars for next season. So, Matthew, what do you have to say about the official announcement of Petty and GMS?
Well, like we said last week, they announced this, and we didn't know much about this. We didn't know it was going to be like two separate teams with alliance. Will it be a two-car team? Will the Petty branding be gone? But it ended up being actually the Petty branding on all GMS cars, which I thought was really cool. That GMS is basically embracing the petty branding for their team, so that's really cool. Um, Ty Dillon switching numbers, which I mean, I think it's really cool to be honest, using the iconic 42. I know most modern NASCAR fans only know the 42 now because of Chip Ganassi, but most NASCAR historians know that 42 because of Lee Petty. So it's great to see the 42 back again, but this time the Petty branding again. So it's cool to see that. Um, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good move for them. I don't know if this makes them better or be the same as last year. I don't know. I mean, Eric Jones is clearly better than Ty Dillon. I mean, there's no argument there, but I just I don't know how good they'll be next year. So that's my only concern. But other than that, I think it's a really good move, and I love that GMS is embracing the petty branding. Now, will they do it on their truck team too? I don't know about that, but I still think it's pretty cool. Oh, and also, I almost forgot this. I saw an interview with Cal Petty, who was there, and he was talking about how they were going back and forth between the 42 and the 44. They were thinking about one of those two numbers instead of the 94, and I'm glad they did the 42 because the last time Petty ran the 44, before there was the daily Rick Ware caution, there was the daily Brian Scott caution, which drove that 44 car. So I'm glad they chose a different number this time.
Yeah, that was a really cool announcement. Finally, glad that we have all the details figured out because there's a lot of stuff up in the air for a few days. But next, I'm gonna combine these two pieces of news. So the first one is that Chase Briscoe and Stewart Haas Racing, they announced a new sponsor, and Tony Stewart is a very clever man because there was some type of leaked information that the sponsor he announced, they did the announcement at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and all that kind of stuff. So there were some hints that he might drive an Xfinity car for one race at the Indy Road Course, and the announcement came out, and it was just Chase Briscoe, this new sponsor, and the new looking car for Chase Briscoe for next season. It was a cup car and a midget dirt car as well, actually. So the sponsor is, I'm going to try my best not to mess this up, Mahindra Tractors. Hopefully I said that right. But the car looks almost exactly like Tony Stewart's like 2011-ish paint scheme. The black and the red looks really good. I'll throw a picture of it up on the screen for you guys, but it looks really good. But Tony Stewart, I don't know if he announced this via Twitter or said it, but he was like, "Oh, well, yeah, this gives me the opportunity to get back behind the wheel, ... of a tractor." And everybody's like, come on, Tony. Like, why do you have to do us like that, man? So, I don't know. Maybe Tony's still salty that NASCAR basically took Eldora off the schedule without telling him, maybe. Maybe he can drive his tractor around Eldora. I don't know, but that was pretty funny how he pulled that off. So the car looks really good. I think it's gonna be like a primary sponsor because they're running the Daytona 500 and several other races throughout the season. So
Yeah,
cool to
they
see
said
that
it was
sponsor.
the primary sponsor.
Cool to see that sponsor on the race car and the colors that look like Tony Stewart's original paint scheme. Well, not original paint scheme for Stewart Haas, but the one he won the championship with and all that. So that was really cool. And the other piece of news is that Landon Cassil is going to drive the 10 car for Kaulig Racing, replacing Jeb Burton, who teased on Twitter that he's ready to go racing next year, but he doesn't know who he's racing for yet. Well, maybe he does, but we don't know. But Landon Cassil to the 10 car, I think that's a great opportunity for him. He has been in the Xfinity Series for quite a long time. Just hasn't been in the best equipment, so I'm definitely looking forward to see how well he does next year in the 10 car for Kaulig. So they got a pretty good team now. They got Landon Cassil, they got AJ Allmendinger, and they got Daniel Hemrick. So Kaulig Racing is going to look pretty good. Hopefully Landon Cassil can put up some good finishes, maybe get a win or two in some Kaulig equipment. So Matthew, what do you have to say about the sponsor announcement from Stewart Haas Racing and the Landon Cassil announcement for Kaulig?
Well, for Chase Briscoe, this is definitely an exciting piece of news for Chase Briscoe fans because Chase Briscoe, so far in his career, has never really had a quote-unquote big corporate sponsor to like help him fund over the years, and he constantly needed like Ford sponsors and stuff like that. So it's great for him to have a big sponsor now, and as a primary sponsor too. So it's really great to hear that. It's great for that team. It's great for Briscoe. As far as the whole Tony Stewart I mean, it still could happen that he could be in one Xfinity race at Indy. I mean, it still could happen, but I guess he's just not gonna say that too early on. So we'll see if he does or not. As for the Landon Cassil news, this was actually really surprising, to be honest. I know there were rumors, but I didn't think they would actually come true. I thought it was just, wishful thinking, but it did happen. And he's got a big sponsor as well with Voyager, which is a cryptocurrency. And he's actually getting paid from his contract with crypto, which I think is the first NASCAR driver to do that. And I don't know a thing about crypto, how that stuff works. I tried learning about it, but it's way too complicated for me. So
that's a pass for me. That's a hard, it's a firm pass. Just give me my check.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
But I'm sure Landon Castle always knows what he's doing, though. So that's great to hear. Will he do good in this ride? So that's my only concern. This is really the first big opportunity for him. I know he's been a really good underrated driver when it comes to underfunded teams, but can he actually deliver with the good equipment? Maybe. I don't know. We gotta see next season. In my opinion, I think he's a little bit of an unknown. If he'll be the same as Jeff Burton was in that car, or would he actually be better than Jeff Burton was in that car? Maybe even snatch a win. So we'll just see. But Kaulig Racing is still looking good. They have a bunch of veterans on that team now with Landon Cassil, Daniel Hamrick, who just finally won a race and a championship, and AJ Allmendinger, who's arguably the best driver in Xfinity now since Austin Cindric's moved on. So, yeah, Kaulig Racing is looking good for next season as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping Landon Cassil does well. You did say that he drove for JRM in 2008, I believe. I don't know, was that one start or was it multiple starts?
It was a part-time ride, and he was very, very young too. So if that wasn't Landon Cassil now, and Junior Motorsports, that was I believe their first season. Well, actually no, it was their earlier years, and I don't think Junior Motorsports was how it is now in terms of speed.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully, Landon Cassil can do good in some good equipment finally. I think he deserves it. He's a veteran of the Xfinity Series, so hopefully he does well. And our last piece of news has to do about some testing that happened over the week, even more testing for the next-gen car, which is great that they're getting all of this testing now, since, they're only going to have 15 minutes at most tracks throughout the season, so good thing they're at least getting some on-track time over the off-season. But this was only a 3-car test at Charlotte. It was with Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, and Joey Logano, one driver from each manufacturer. And they were testing out the 670 horsepower package that was rumored that they would give a try at some point. So, based on a few things that I've seen on Twitter and all of that, is that the test session went well, and the drivers liked the 670 horsepower package, which is great. I definitely think that they need to head that way for the the road courses, the short tracks, the mile and a halves, all that kind of stuff. Every track not a super speedway, pretty much. And I guess Bristol Dirt, I don't know if there's anything special for that. But, yeah, that was great to see. And speaking of dirt, Stuart Friesen also did a test at a dirt track to figure out the tire that they would run at Bristol Dirt next year. So there was all that happened on the same day, so that was cool. The test at Charlotte, and I think the test at the dirt track as well, is pretty much closed off to the public and the media, so there was a little bit of footage leaked, but nothing too crazy. So there's also a test coming up tomorrow, I believe you said, right? There's a test tomorrow
at the
Charlotte Oval, or this week at some point at the Charlotte Oval. More cars will be there, so that'll be exciting to talk about as well. So, Matthew, what do you have to say about the testing that happened over the past week?
Well, first of all, the dirt test looked pretty cool with the next gen car. It was the first time we've seen the next gen car on the dirt, so it'll be interesting to see how that races the Bristol dirt compared to the Gen 6 cars. It looked like it turned a little bit better in the corner, but we'll see. But as for the Charlotte ones, what I really want to talk about, because I want to applaud NASCAR for finally upping the horsepower at these mile and a halves. There's no reason to have the absolute terrible package that we had the last couple years at mile and a halves. No, I'm not one of those people like, NASCAR's not the same NASCAR's never the same anymore after they got rid of the 800 plus horsepower engines. La la la. Look, I'm not one of those people, but 550 package I was never a fan of that. And it's not confirmed yet, but if this test goes well with this certain engine package, which I hope it does, then we'll probably see 670 on all tracks except for the super speedways. So I'm loving the new. I'm loving it. Just please go 670. Leave it like that, please. Like I don't care. I don't care if it's 670, 750, 800, whatever. As long as it's not a 550 package, please. Playing NASCAR video games with that package is the most frustrating thing I've ever done in my life. Jimmy, you can you relate with that. But
Yeah. I was gonna make another analysis as well, but you can go ahead and wrap it up. Go ahead.
But yeah, we'll see how the bigger test next week goes, and we'll see if NASCAR says they're gonna do a 670, or we might have to prepare for this. Stay with a 550, which I hope we don't. But just in case, just prepare for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Oh shoot, what? Oh yeah, we were talking about Bristol Dirt, and I was like, well, hopefully the test and the tire is better than any NASCAR 21 experience I've done on Bristol Dirt, because it is absolutely terrible at Bristol Dirt. Like, it's on NASCAR 21, the video game. So if any of you guys play that game and you've tried Bristol Dirt, you can relate. But yeah,
any 550 package track, especially in Pocono, is the worst experience ever, because you just can't pass for anything at all. You just don't. You just can't.
And even at the tracks like Atlanta and all that, like, you're wide open the whole time. So that's a lot of fun, just going full throttle. So yeah, hopefully NASCAR. Hopefully this test goes well, and the 670 horsepower package gets high praise from the drivers and all that, and hopefully we can see that on track next season. But I think that's all the news that we have for this week. Matthew, do you have any other closing thoughts before we go and wrap the episode up?
Yes, I do. I want to apologize to Steve O'Donnell's Steve Phelps. After the terrible calls I saw F1 today, I will never take y'all guys for granted, because you make terrible calls, but nothing as terrible as what I saw at Dubai today. So I'm sorry to both of y'all. I have to put it out there.
At least they didn't mess up the championship race. Like, messing up races throughout the season, that's fine. But when you make a controversial call like that in the championship race, that's a little bit worse. So I mean, not throwing the caution for the rain, that's not necessarily their fault. That's more the officials' fault. But it is Steve O'Donnell's fault we have this 550 horsepower package. So yeah, that was definitely a crazy race in Dubai for the F1.
It's just like what I say every time I race in the NASCAR 21 game. Thank you, Steve Phelps. I love this package on every 550 track.
It's interesting for sure. But yeah, that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this news update. We'll try to have a few more fun uploads over the off season as well. Hopefully we can have some time to record, because we're done. Well, I have to do an online class for another week, but we're pretty much done for the semester, so we'll be able to hang out some, hopefully film some content in person for you guys, and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, that's it for this episode, but we will see you guys in our next video.